Microsoft 365 Copilot is finally available to everyone, assuming that you can afford it. Let's start with what's new. Firstly, all the limits have been removed. There is no more 300 seats requirement to purchase Copilot licenses. You can start with just one. And compared to ChatGPT's business plan, which requires at least 2 users to be subscribed to it, that's a definite advantage, in case you only need 1 license. Logically, it has been brought into the CSP program as well, so you are no more required to have an enterprise agreement. And the cherry on the pie are the eligible plans. In addition to Microsoft E3 and E5, Copilot can now be also added to Office 365, E3 and E5, and Microsoft Business Standard and Microsoft Business Premium plans. And how could I forget Microsoft 365, A3 and A5? So here is the complete list of the plans that are eligible for Copilot. But what it actually means? It means that you cannot buy Copilot alone. You must have these licenses, one of these licenses assigned to the user for whom you plan to buy Copilot. It also means that it's not included in any of the plans. It comes at an additional cost. And speaking about the price, it is $30 per user per month, regardless of your industry size, so education gets it at the same price. And also your enterprise agreement level. Microsoft isn't going to give any enterprise agreement level discounts. If you have an enterprise agreement, you should be aware that there are 4 different pricing levels predefined in the price list, depending on the size of your organization. And that doesn't apply to Copilot. So the price stays the same. Can you get a discount? Maybe. You will probably not get, at the moment, as it stands, a discount on Copilot itself, but you may obviously use it as a negotiation leverage, asking for a discount on something else. We will get back to that. The most interesting question is, do you want to implement Copilot? The problem is not the price of Copilot itself. The problem is the additional budget required to implement it in an organization. We don't believe that everybody is going to jump and implement it org-wide, but if they did, here is the uplift compared to existing plans. If you have users with Microsoft 365 E5, adding Copilot licenses for these users will cost you an additional 53%. If you add that license on top of E3, the increase is 83%. For Microsoft 365 business plans, it gets even better. Adding Copilot to Microsoft 365 Business Premium will cost you an additional 136% of what you're paying right now, which is multiplying what you're paying right now by 2.4. And for the users with Microsoft Business Standard, the uplift is 240%. The other thing to note is that frontline workers with F plans are not getting Copilot. So they would have to be switched to something like Microsoft 365 E3. And if you do that, the online subscription cost per such user will be 8.25 times higher than what you're paying right now. The good thing, however, is that you don't have to buy it for every user in your organization. You choose who gets it. It could be top managers, it could be data analysts, it could be number crunchers, AI enthusiasts, those who already have experience working with ChatGPT. You can have a gradual rollout. So it doesn't mean that your budget will suddenly increase by 83% for all the Microsoft licenses for all the users in your org. But it's pretty obvious that you will need to seek an additional budget. And when it comes to budgets, the thing that we need to present to our CFOs is the ROI. What return on investment are we expecting from Copilot? Is the price of $30 per user per month justified? Let me start from a personal example. We've been using ChatGPT since its inception, since they rolled out the commercial plan. And in the first half of 2023, we calculated the ROI on using ChatGPT in SumExpert. And the number was 30-1. That is how much time ChatGPT saved us doing research, drafting articles, summarizing videos, transcripts, working with subtitles, replying to emails, drafting documents, many other things. And that's ChatGPT, which has much more limited functionality compared to Copilot. And by the end of the 2023, the ROI went up to 100-1. So in the hands of an experienced user who knows and wants to use AI in their day-to-day work, it's a no-brainer. $30 is the cost of 1 hour of a mid-level employee in the West. Don't you think an AI cannot save at least 1 hour a month? However, we should not forget about those users who probably won't even touch it, and thus there'll be no return on investment on that particular user base. This is why we suggest a gradual rollout and training your employees before jumping into a company-wide subscription, which may cost you dearly. Going back to the price, will it definitely be $30 per user per month for your organization? Can you negotiate a discount? As I said in the very beginning, it's very, very difficult at the moment. Microsoft is extremely confident in this offering. Look at what they did with the enterprise agreement discounts. They just don't exist. There is no level D price for Copilot. It's $30 per user per month, regardless. There's almost no movement on Copilot. Can it be used as a leverage? Cleverly, yes. What may also happen is the price can go up or down in the end of the year, maybe even earlier. It depends on the adoption. It depends on the competition in the market, whether there's going to be any significant competition from, say, Google. And also, Microsoft is working on continuous improvement of the back end and therefore decreasing costs for the data centers. It's not a secret that AI is very resource hungry. That was quoted multiple times by multiple experts as the reason why Microsoft for a while kept that 300 user minimum limit. They didn't want it to be adopted by everybody, so to keep the load of the data centers under control. There's also a historical precedent when Microsoft cut the prices for Power Apps in half after the early adoption stage. However, looking at the ROI, I would not bet my money on that. One of the other possible scenarios is Microsoft may introduce Microsoft 365 E7. Rumors and speculations about E7 have been around since almost 2 years. The reason is Microsoft 365 E5 was introduced as an all-inclusive plan. One after another, Microsoft started introducing premium add-ons that you have to purchase on top of E5, and Copilot is one of those, but also Teams Premium, Intune Plan 2, which are quite compelling for many enterprises. So the question remains whether Microsoft will bring another all-inclusive plan this year and then begin adding another set of premium add-ons on top of E7. Nevertheless, there are, however, two arguments against it. If E7 is introduced alongside with the current E3 and E5 plans, exactly in the same framework, Microsoft would have to give enterprise agreement discounts. But would they? Look at Copilot. It is available in the enterprise agreement channel, but there are no discounts. It's flat price. It's not even on the price list. So E7 could potentially be positioned exactly the same. The other argument is E5 is not yet widely adopted. It's still a flagship product, so that goal is not yet reached. Why introduce a new plan when the old one is not yet adopted? We are even seeing rollbacks from E5 to E3, but watch that space closely. If that actually happens and we're going to have E7 with Copilot included at a flat price, regardless of the discount level, that means the end of the enterprise agreement. Rumors about it started circulating in December last year. It's not even an inside information. It's been already announced by multiple experts that Microsoft is going to move in that direction. When will that happen is yet to be seen. But the most important thing that we're going to lose with the demise of enterprise agreement is programmatic levels. If Microsoft moves everybody into CSP, if Microsoft moves enterprises into an equivalent of CSP, every discount will have to be negotiated carefully. And that's not the only problem, because CSP, even with the latest changes, is still different to an enterprise agreement on so many levels. And if you want to learn more about the differences between EA and CSP and the dangers of migrating to it, please watch this video and I'll see you there.